Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Pavlas Varsatskas, and this is Prometheus and the Ecosystem Community Call. We follow Prometheus Code of Conduct here, so please be nice to one another. This is being recorded and will be published on YouTube. We also have Matthias, who's our co-host. Say hello, Matthias.
Hey.
Yeah, and today we will be giving away some Prometheus swag to active participants. So in order to qualify, you just need to ask a question. And we will roll at the end who wins the Prometheus swag. So today on our agenda, we have Prometheus announcements, some news from Thanos, Cortex, Grafana v7 update, and Ben talking about Prometheus community projects. So Prometheus update can start.
Cool, I'm Prometheus Update. So hello everyone, my name is Bartek. I'm Prometheus and Thanos maintainer. So it will be super quick because this release is kind of small. And the reason is that we had like 2.17.2 a week ago. However, we just released fresh one with like month more kind of changes. And notably, we have kind of three things. First of all, we have wall size reduction. So we noticed that it was kind of too big, unnecessary. It's kind of in a half, let's say, which like improves reply time and like the amount of things on disk, I would say. But also on top of it, we have support for Jaeger. So right now you can set up a Prometheus with Jaeger, and Prometheus will send some interesting spans to Jaeger, so you can actually debug and tell which portion of Prometheus is a bottleneck or things like that. So it is super epic. And we are looking forward to change that to OpenTelemetry at some point, so you have more support for more backends as well. And then at the end, we also moved Federation to not query remote endpoints because it was designed not to do it. So that might be a change that you will not kind of see as well. And then we have one interesting change coming in. We have many interesting changes, but one that I would like to highlight is the M-mapped head chunks that Ganesh from Grafana was doing. And essentially, it just improves how we store kind of the things in the memory for the first 2 hours of the metrics, and it just reduced the RAM, the memory used for Prometheus significantly. I have even some numbers like 20 from 20 to 30% of less RAM, so which is amazing. And then
is that in this release or aimed for the next release?
It's aimed for the next release because I think it's super soon, but this is what I'm telling about the future, right? Yeah. So this is what can happen in 2.19, hopefully. Oh, and I missed.
Bartek, do you have a link for that?
Sorry?
Pull request?
Sorry, what do you mean?
I'm gonna add a link to that pull request
cool.
or issue.
Yep.
in
it's
in the notes.
M-map. If you look for M-map head chunks.
All right, I'll take a look.
6, 7, 9.
Perfect. Okay, and I want to quickly mention two Community Bridge projects. So Community Bridge is a program for students, as you may know. And I'm talking about that now because today, or like this week, is the only chance to get applied for that. So just go to Community Bridge website and you can apply for both any kind of CNCF project. But for Prometheus, we have two nice projects. One is the retrospective rule evaluation, which is like issue number 11. So I think it was super, first issue that was created in Prometheus. And then we have also a project for improving remote write. So you're welcome to help us if you are a student, if you are available to join. So that's for Prometheus, yeah.
Awesome. Any questions? If you have a question, just submit it in Zoom or put it on the doc. Let's wait like a minute. Awesome. I think we can move on. Bartek, I think you're talking now about Thanos.
That's correct. So for Thanos, we had kind of announcement last Prometheus ecosystem meeting about like latest release. So let's not talk about that. Actually, the next release is next week, and it's looking good as well because we are moving very fast forward. We have so many contributions, and kind of thanks for that. Like we are barely kind of even managed to review all of this. But notably, we are proud to kind of improve reliability of the duplication algorithm in Thanos, because we have kind of improved the duplication algorithm that handles the replica of Prometheuses. It's not as easy as you would think of. And it was sometimes in edge cases not working very well with counters. And thanks to Ben and GitLab, who gave us like so much data just to investigate and reproduce, we managed to fix it and found it. So this is a huge step to have a reliable deduplication that we can enable offline as well. And that was kind of blocking the offline step. So this is super nice. Then we have I posted about that kind of yesterday. We have a new integration for Store API. So essentially you can put a simple proxy on top of Thanos and enable Prometheus or anything remote read compatible to access from Thanos data. So this is pretty neat from G Research Company. And then we are also working on the PromQL concurrency. Actually, we're literally discussing this morning. So Kemal, one of Thanos maintainer, is working on that. And while we don't want to kind of enable this on Prometheus yet, because there's no reason to make it concurrent for a single process, but we are having a huge kind of benefit in Prometheus ecosystem like Cortex and Thanos, where we can actually tell PromQL for every fetch from data in the backends, so it could be object storage, could be whatever, to do it concurrently. So think about one query that has some subqueries or maybe operations on different metrics like division, like I don't know, whatever. It was doing a sequential fetch, now it will do concurrent. So this will improve latency very, very enormously. So we are super happy about that. And then last but not the least, Peter and Marco from Cortex are like contributing so much to Thanos, and I think we'll soon merge the support for cache for chunks. So like chunks is the very this is where your samples are stored. So now you can cache those. You will be able to cache those on memcached, and that enormously improve the latency as well, and the amount of operations against object storage. So that's pretty amazing. I'm super happy with that. So that's the most notable things. And quick update for Community Bridge. Thanos is also participating, and we have, I think, 2 projects right now. One is docs versioning. So this is actually what Prometheus is looking forward as well. So the ability for Hugo, that templating, or like the website engine, to be able to kind of see the versions of different document the version of the docs for each version separately for each release, right? While this has nothing to do with kind of metrics, every project needs that. So we would like to kind of mentor that. And second project is request logging and tracking and limiting. So this is also epic work that is needed on Thanos. And yeah, it's actually connected to work Ganesh is doing as well with callbacks and series life cycles. So we are definitely moving in direction of having better limiting story as well. So, oh yeah, and let's quickly mention one more, Summer of Docs, which is coming. This is like yet another program, but for documents kind of. We are kind of planning to propose a Katakoda tutorial kind of completion of that for Thanos as well. So please join us. That's it. Thanks.
Awesome. Any questions? We'll wait about 1 minute. Please put them on Zoom or on the Google Doc.
There is one question that is asked in the Q&A section.
Okay. Any plans to reduce binary sizes of Thanos? Currently, it's 60 megabytes. Not sure if they're a concern in the industry, but it's something that maintainers are thinking about.
16 or 60 bytes?
60 megabytes.
Okay. Yeah, this is like interesting topic. Like, we are not aware of the need of this. So if you are in very need and you have like use case that you really want to, I don't know, have production, I don't know, infrastructure, or like it's very painful for you, just put a ticket on that and just let us know that is the problem, because we were not optimizing for that. Right. So there are certain steps that you can do. You can build binary, Golang binary in a certain way that strips down the debugging, and like you can definitely have half of this size or even more. So, or even less, sorry. So yeah, just let us know, and that's all.
Awesome. I guess we can move on to Cortex updates.
Brian, do you want to do the GSOC update?
Sure. Hi, I'm Brian Borum. I got the news a couple of days ago. We got a slot on Google Summer of Code. So Jay Batra, who I don't think is on the call, is going to be the student. And the project is selective indexing. So at the moment, Cortex indexes every label that it gets, which is really fast and really expensive. And so there's a theory, at least, that if you just index, or at least if you eliminate fields that you're never going to query on, like LE, then I'm kidding. Well, you mostly never query on it. Anyway, that's the idea, and that's the update. So welcome, Jay Batra.
Yep. He also submitted a pull request to add version documents to Cortex, so that is also super cool. We will also have version docs like Prometheus and soon like Thanos. And so we are going to cut Cortex 1.1 next week. We are also following a 6-week cadence like Prometheus, and lots of good things are coming. Hopefully we'll merge TLS support, like end-to-end TLS between components. We're using the same node exporter library. We wanted to do some remote write mirroring to 2 different clusters so that we could set up a test cluster based on the block storage in parallel to one of our production clusters, so that we can test the block storage performance. So for that, we wanted to do remote write mirroring, and we wanted to write a component for that, but turns out Envoy has a mirroring directive, which works really, really well for us. So we did not need to change any of the data that we were mirroring. So this works really well, but hopefully in the future, we can collaborate on a mirroring tool that also changes or obfuscates data. And as part of 1.1, we've been running the write-ahead log inside Cortex in production for about 2 weeks now. And as part of 1.1, we're hopefully going to call it not experimental, give all the guarantees for that. Yep. So that's it from the Cortex updates.
Awesome. If you have any questions about Cortex or Cortex update, please ask them now. I can see that we have one question. What is maintained by Prometheus community? I guess we're gonna...
That is something for later, yeah.
Yeah, something for later, because we're gonna talk about it later. Thank you for the question. Cool, so any questions about Cortex? Let's wait like 30 more seconds. Cool, I think we can continue. Now we have Grafana.
Well, hello everyone. I am Arve Knudsen from Grafana Labs. I will be presenting some new features from our upcoming version 7 release, which is out in beta. First of all, I will be discussing our new revised plugin architecture, which is basically a unified system for developing plugins with both front-end and back-end components. This is something I've been working on myself. And the back-end component of plugins is actually launched by Grafana as a separate process, communicating with the host, i.e. Grafana, via the HashiCorp plugin protocol, which is on top of gRPC. And we use Apache Arrow as a transportation format for passing data frames between plugins and Grafana. And one of the plugins I've helped develop using this new architecture is the Google Sheets data source, which allows visualizing Google spreadsheets in Grafana. Furthermore, we've developed a new Go plugin SDK for writing plugins, which is again wrapping the HashiCorp plugin protocol for communicating over gRPC. And I'm going to switch to screen sharing because I just want to demonstrate this functionality. So what I'm showing here is basically a gauge panel displaying one row from a Google spreadsheet. And a new feature that has been introduced in version 7 is the so-called inspect drawer, where you can see the tabular representation, for example, of the query result. So this, so here you can see the tabular representation of the sheet data. And you can see for statistics, metadata, and you can also see JSON representations of the panel itself and the panel data, which can be quite helpful in debugging your Grafana visualizations. And another cool feature is a query history, where Grafana can keep a history of a certain time span, by default 1 week, a history of your queries within that time span. So here we can see today I've performed 17 queries, and it's possible to favorite your queries, and you can also add you can add comments to your queries, which should be helpful. And this also brings me to the last feature I want to show, which is the tracing viewer in the Explore page, where you can see the traces from Jaeger or Zipkin backends data sources. So here we can see a tracing span from Jaeger with its tags and process metadata. So that is all I have to present for now.
Awesome, thank you. And this is a document how to. Oh no, this is your notes. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes,
thank you very much.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so if anybody has any questions for Grafana folks, it would be amazing. Cool, let's wait for like 30 more seconds.
All right, I guess I'll start into the Prometheus community. We've been slowly onboarding new projects into the Prometheus community repo. This is a semi-official place where exporters can be maintained by the wider Prometheus developer community and user community. In the last couple of weeks, we've added several new exporters and 2 PromQL language-related components so that you can use PromQL as part of your editor. And then, of course, the exporters are exporters that are important to the community, but we're not getting them some of the maintenance from their original authors because the original authors weren't able to maintain them. And now they have a new home, and hopefully we can get more people to participate in updating those exporters.
Ben?
Yeah.
So do we have some kind of how to write an exporter guide in Golang so that people can follow our best practices? Or when we get a new exporter, we kind of copy what we do somewhere else and try to do the same? Or
we have the writing exporters guide in the official Prometheus docs. Some of the patterns are not exactly documented. As part of bringing in these various exporters, what I've been doing is updating them to use some of the standard exporter patterns like Circle CI builds and Promu and all the other mostly build related components.
The other thing is that the exporters and integrations list on the Prometheus IO, like the bar for adding that is roughly speaking sending a PR, but as part of that, your exporter will be reviewed and you will get commentary. And basically you don't have to implement any of it unless I say, please stop putting passwords in the command line. But everything else there is a suggestion, but at least you know that anything that is on that list has at least been looked at and some feedback being given. Not necessarily implemented because, well, as Ben says, the community should help these things long term, and just pointing people to one thing will hopefully encourage the community to come together and improve things over time. Because obviously not everything is going to be produced perfectly out of whole cloth first time round.
okay, thank you.
Awesome. We have, so we had a question for Prometheus community. What is maintained by Prometheus community? Prometheus operator?
No, we want to do a PromCon update.
Okay, sorry. Please continue then.
Who put on the PromCon update into the list?
I'm not sure if we want to do a PromCon update, but I think we have to do a PromCon update. Yeah, as a physical thing, it's a goner. I think that's kind of obvious to everyone, which is a whole lot of a pity. Current thinking is also very much going against even trying to have a PromCon in Europe this year, because as it currently looks, we don't really expect social distancing to be fully revoked, and you basically would need that for anything of any size, and especially as we wanted to grow beyond the 220 in Europe as well, that makes it even harder. Yeah, long story short, this year there won't be a physical PromCon, which is not nice. That being said, we will have a virtual one. We are currently tempted to either do like a month and then have 1 or 2 talks every week, or maybe have a week and then just have 2 or 3 talks per week. Obviously, time zone aligned, blah, 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 blah. I have a strong preference, and I would like to hear what every one of you is thinking.
I would vote for distributing kind of in time, so we are not overwhelmed and everyone can join and also have time for family and work.
I agree with that. Would be kind of a nice trade-off, for sure.
I would prefer limiting it to a week rather than the whole month.
Yeah,
But yeah,
I
just
would
spreading it
then,
out
like,
over a week.
yeah, a month is a long time. A week, at least, you know, we can spread it across time zones, but a month is just dragging on a bit much.
So my own personal preference is also to make it more like a week, to keep overhead and also time commitment. Like, I agree that it kind of sucks with, like, this is a week where you might not have too much time, but to be honest, it would be the same if we had a physical conference. If you include travel and such, and if you need to go over the great big pond, you basically are not home and not available for family and whatever for a week anyway. So it's even less impact than an in-person thing, and it's way easier to organize and to keep people interested. But that's not me deciding, hey, we have to do it like this. I mean it when I say that I'm looking for feedback. So everyone else is also more than welcome to put something in Q&A or chat or whatever.
I think week is still better than just one day packed of everything and sitting.
No, it's not one day. It wouldn't be one day. It would be a week, and we would maybe have one talk per day, or maybe two every 2 days, or whatever. Like that's
Yeah, I think it would make sense to kind of like make it dependent on how many talks we want to have, kind of as well, right? And then from there, take it from there.
Yeah,
Or like
a normal
how many are proposed?
Sorry.
We have enough.
A normal PromCon is about 20 talks, plus then about another 15, 20 lightning talks.
Yep.
What about Twitter poll?
Yeah, I can do. Actually, not a bad idea. Didn't consider it yet, but yeah, it's not a bad idea.
And another question is like, because there are people that propose already, right? Are we going to do yet another totally different reset of the proposals, or?
No. That was part of the contingency planning from basically almost day one. That if we are not able to do a remote, a in-person thing, that we would reuse the same content. Obviously, obviously, and also everyone is still more than invited to submit stuff. Of course, we are still looking for content. Like, it actually makes a few things easier to have this. Like, you don't have travel restrictions. You don't need to think, hey, maybe I won't get visa. Maybe I don't have funding, blah, 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 blah. All those concerns go away, which is also kind of nice. Yeah.
Awesome. I think we can move on to questions if anybody, if we don't mind. So basically we had a question from Shay: what is maintained by Prometheus community? Prometheus operator Helm chart or the Cube Prometheus? Just wondering which of them is more up to date.
Pavel or Frederick, do you want to go ahead?
So actually, I mean, it depends on what is meant by Prometheus community. So neither of those charts are maintained by the maintainers of Prometheus or Prometheus operator. All those are separately maintained by folks in the community. We used to have a chart, even though we didn't maintain it ourselves either. And we actually moved it out of the Prometheus operator repo because nobody was maintaining it. And so there's kind of a problem or a mismatch of people like to consume the Helm charts, but nobody wants to maintain them. And there was recently an issue on our repo asking if there could be if it could be moved back. I don't think it, until there is someone who's actually committed to maintaining it. I don't think we're going to do that. That said, we're very happy to give someone who wants to give that a shot a blessed space, essentially. Like, we can create a repo specifically for this Helm chart. But the maintainers don't use Helm themselves, so like we can't really maintain it in a way that is satisfactory to people.
And I think this touches a wider point that the Prometheus community org as a whole, like, do stuff with it. It's not just to be there to be consumed. It's actually meant as a place for people to experiment and do something, as Frederick said, in a blessed way.
Awesome.
If you need it, maybe you will find someone who will help you. But yeah, that's the problem with Helm. They want to consume it and not. That's kind of the point of Helm.
Awesome, awesome. I think we can move on to the next question. Ben, you had a question.
Yeah. So the we added compression for the write-ahead log a number of releases ago. I don't think a lot of people have run into any issues with it or bugs. There hasn't been a lot of reports, and we've been running it in production for a number of months now, and it looks pretty good. What do people think about turning it on by default?
So I think that as we just made some changes with the wall, like reducing the size by 2, and that we will start messing around with wall replay with the chunks in memory, that kind of things, that it might be safer to still wait another release to change that, so that if we get people having problems replaying the wall, we kind of know where it is and not too big changes like that at once.
Yeah, I was going to say, same as Julian, like enabling wall compression is pretty low risk. However, the mmap stuff coming in is high risk, and having those both in the same release is unwise. Like, we probably could have done it in 2.18 fairly safely, and people gotten a 4x reduction in WAL size. But I guess either we do it in the next release if mmap doesn't land, or the one after, assuming mmap doesn't turn out to be too problematic, and if not, the one after again.
Awesome, awesome. I think we can move on to the next question. So Matthias, you had a question.
Yeah, so while I really appreciate all the like nice features and UI improvement, or like actually user experience improvements for Grafana 7, we do run a bunch of like kind of more immutable Grafana instances. So we don't really want things where like people can like essentially put state on Grafana, right? So like the query history is somewhat state, but like especially like favoriting queries and such, like that's something, at least for like an immutable deployment of Grafana, I would like to see at least like be able to disable, so that like people don't start favoriting queries and then all of a sudden like the pod gets restarted and like they're confused why it's gone. So I guess that's like to you, Arvel, or someone else.
Yeah, I'm taking note of it. Thanks.
Yeah.
So one thing to add, the query history, as far as I know, is in the local browser state and it's local to you. So even if you restart Grafana, as long as the cookies are same, as long as the local browser state is not cleared, you'll still have the query history. I don't think we've added like Grafana level query history just yet. That will be the next step. And probably if you're having no backend database, you won't be able to do that.
That's actually
I
quite cool.
I remember so we had exactly this discussion, and I wasn't certain if that was the result of the discussion, but I know that I made basically the same argument that I didn't want to have state in. We'll check.
Yeah, I mean, like I totally get that like people run Grafana with database, and that makes sense for their deployments, but there are also like these immutable.
No, you didn't very right. How about we just put the answer in the meeting notes afterwards? Then everyone on this call can look it up. That's the easiest way to ensure that everyone hearing this question will also have an answer.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And we also had a couple of questions about Grafana, which has been answered by Avre in chat. So I think this is it. We are like out of time. So Matthias, do you want to roll the dice and tell who's the winner?
Yeah, so like as far as I could see, we had 3 people outside of the Prometheus folks themselves asking questions. So I'm gonna like roll the dice between 1 and 3. And 3 is like I used the Google random generator number. So 3, so Madan. So Madan, you won the prize. You won the swag, it seems. I don't know, like Prof, Madan should probably talk to you about this.
Yeah, if you can ping me in Slack, I'll just post. It's like Pavlos V in Slack, in CNCF Slack. Just ping me there. I'll send you a code to CNCF Store, and you can pick your swag. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, everyone. This was fun. Yeah, goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.